Good morning, guys, and welcome back to Island Tea right here on Win Media SKN. And guys, we have some very special guests in the studio with us this morning. We have some representatives from SKELEC right here this morning. Friend of the show for sure, but I'll allow them to introduce themselves. Good morning, guys.
Good morning. Good morning to all of the listeners and viewers of Island Tea. My name is Patrice Harris, the Corporate Communications Manager for SKELEC. And I have the General Manager who is here with me. He's going to introduce himself and we'll get into what we want to talk about today.
All right, good morning, listeners and viewers who are here today. My name is Clement Jomo Williams. I'm the General Manager at SKELEC. Now, today we are here to give a little bit of update on what has been going on with the current state of the electricity production in St. Kitts. As everyone may be aware, for those who aren't, on last Saturday, we had a failure on one of the generators at the Needmouth Power Station, which put us in a very precarious position because we were not able to carry the capacity of the demand of the Federation, which is about 26 megawatts. Now,
Of St. Kitts, not the Federation, St. Kitts.
yes, Federation. I'm still thinking number one utility in the Federation.
That hasn't changed at all.
Yes.
That hasn't changed.
Okay, so thanks for the correction, Ms. Harris. So yes, the demand of electricity in St. Kitts is 26 megawatts. So after the failure on the engine on Saturday, we only had about 20 megawatts of generation available to supply that demand. So clearly you would see there is a shortfall. Now, what had to be done in order to, for continuity, we put into place a load shedding schedule. We put into place a load shedding exercise. Yes, that is the word. So all that simply means is the different areas for different time periods would have to be shed off the grid in order to ensure that we have enough capacity to maintain continuity of supply. Now, between Saturday and today, Thursday.
Yes, it is. I think the days have been evading us because it's been from Saturday non-stop right down.
So between Saturday and today, Thursday, we have had significant increase in capacity due to the hard work, determination, ingenuity. Sometimes I don't even know what else to call it. The proactive thinking of our management team to get parts flown in, calling favors from their friends in Miami. Whatever it took, they got it done. And now we are in a position where the capacity has increased from 20 megawatts to just about 25 megawatts. This is still, as you can see, 1 megawatt short of the 26 megawatt peak. So instead of shedding a large amount of areas, we just focusing on small areas and trying to limit the amount of time for those specific areas. Now, how long do we expect this to occur? Initially, we were saying 1 month, and we are going to stick firm with that 1 month, but I can let the public know that SKELEC has done everything within its power to increase capacity. We even went as far as to purchase 2 standby units. We did that yesterday. The shipping agency and the suppliers did everything they could. They got them to the port of Miami yesterday, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we are able to have those units sail on the ship today so that they can be here on Monday, Tuesday. We already started all the preliminary work, the civil work at the power station to accept those new units, including disconnecting one of the units that we decommissioned so that one of those can go in its place. And if all goes as planned, by next weekend, we could see those 2 new generators in service at the power station, and that will definitely put us in a position where we would not need to load shed.
Okay.
No. Is that the fix it all?
Not the
No.
long-term fix.
No.
Okay.
That is not the long-term fix. That is a short-term fix. Earlier this week as well, some of the senior members of SKELEC attended cabinet, put the situation forward to the government, and the government has pledged their full support in ensuring that in the medium to long term, that we will have increased new generating capacity at the Needsmos Power Station. Now, what we're thinking is a new plant which can carry about 18 megawatts, and that would be significant because this plant would be a dual fuel plant being able to run off a diesel or LNG. So we have the option to continue with diesel or go to LNG, which is a cleaner burning fuel. Now, this is going to be a costly venture, and it is a necessary investment, not because we want to go green or we want to incorporate more renewable energy technologies. We still have to maintain that baseline capacity, because if it's a sunny day, for some reason we have a freak storm that can, damage panels, wind turbines, whatever. We still have to have that firm capacity at the power station to make sure that when you flick that switch, the light turns on. So the renewable energy projects are just going to be complementary to the backbone of the power station.
All right. So, also, I'm assuming that there is a recognition that capacity is probably not going to dip. It probably is going to continue to rise. Or let's say the demand from the nation, and so I would assume that this would probably go a long way in preparing SKELEC to be able to service that demand.
Correct.
As
Correct.
it increases.
Correct. Pre-COVID, we were seeing a peak of about 29 megawatts. We're at 26 megawatts. So all things remaining to what they were before, we would see minimum 29, and we expect to see growth over the next 2 years to take us to 32 megawatts.
Wouldn't it also be over the next couple of months as well, because we haven't had a full-fledged tourist season since
that
COVID?
Is entirely correct, which is why we took the step of purchasing those 2 units.
Yeah.
It wasn't cheap. It was a very Herculean effort because we had to pretty much outbid someone else who was trying to buy those same units at the same time. We had intense negotiations, and we were able to be successful. And I said those units landed in the port of Miami yesterday. Hopefully they make the ship today. Fingers crossed, and I hope everybody else in the nation crosses their fingers as well to ensure that those 2 units get to St. Kitts. Those 2 units get to St. Kitts on Monday.
All right. Nice. But one of the things that we always are thankful for is the level of communication, because, when, like you said, people flick the switch and no light come on, the questions start coming. But I want to commend you guys for continually being communicative with the public about that. You mentioned that there was an issue on Saturday. Could you tell us exactly what might have happened with the generator that might have caused us to be in this situation? Is it a mechanical failure or?
This specific problem with the generator is not necessarily, it's not the engine side, it's the alternator side.
Okay.
So the generator has 2 main components, the engine and the alternator. The engine turns the alternator to generate electricity. Now we had a failure on the alternator. There's nothing wrong with the engine, but we need to have the alternator inspected and checked. Now, there was what we call a flashover in the industry, meaning we had a breakdown in the insulation, and then, we had a little fireworks in the alternator.
Them things are happening.
Yeah. So the alternator is damaged. We already have made contact with the company. One of the companies that does repairs on these alternators Hopefully it can be done in situ, meaning inside at the power station. If not, we would then have to ship it overseas for it to be repaired. So the repair on that specific unit can take anywhere from 2 to 3 months, depending on whether it's done in-house. Of course, there's the logistics of getting it shipped out. We have to get the jacks and cranes and everything because it's heavy. It weighs tons. So the logistics of just getting it shipped off is very huge, and it takes a lot of precision to get all that together.
Yeah.
As earlier you mentioned about the communication, and at SKELEC we pride ourselves on making communicating with the public as a priority, because we understand that we have an obligation to let our customers know exactly what is taking place. On Monday, we did get a lot of leaks. We got a lot of leaks on social media, on the radio programs, on WhatsApp. And it's because, obviously, the load shedding experience is inconvenient.
Right.
It's unfortunate. And we were only able to notify the public on Sunday night, I think after 11, that we were going to start the load shedding. And the expectation with the schedule that we put together was that the load shedding would have begun on 9 a.m. on Monday. And it just so happened that we needed to start load shedding from as early as 7.
Right.
And basically having to wake up and see a poster to say load shedding, and then your electricity starting to go, we know that our consumers were not very happy, and they were very vocal about not being happy. And we made our best effort and made a commitment to the public that by 8 p.m. nightly, you're going to see the schedule for the following day so that you can plan. It has been really good that for the upcoming days, and as early as Tuesday, that we didn't need to load shed as much as what we would have publicized.
Right.
So now we have a situation where the public is like, well, I tell me come and check, like I'm coming still on. I don't make me plans, and I'm like, this is a good thing.
Say thank you and continue to live life.
This is a thing that we didn't need to load shed as much. Yesterday we published from as 9, and we didn't need to load shed from until 10, from 10, and then we didn't load shed after that.
Right.
We had about 1 load shedding outage yesterday.
My account was supposed to go out Tuesday, and it went nowhere. I said, thank you, Jesus.
Well, you see, many persons were not thinking like you. And then what happened on Monday as well is that there was a proposed weekly schedule of an internal communication that was leaked to the public, and the person sent it, disseminated it all over. It was read on the radio. It was all over the place.
Yeah. Up to yesterday, somebody sent me this schedule, and the same schedule that was leaked, and asked me if they should adhere to it, and I said no, that wasn't even supposed to be in the public domain. So check our Facebook page, check our website. There are a few radio stations that are assisting with the dissemination of the information.
And what we want persons to understand is that during a load shedding exercise, you're patient. You have to be patient, because there isn't a switch at SKELEC where we switch off St. Peter's and we switch off Keon. We have crews that are manually in pickup trucks that are driving to Mansion, to Deep Bay, to Saddlers, wherever this outage is, turning the power off and turning it back on. They're opening and closing the switches. And that is why we're asking for you to be patient. There are crews that are working for your restoration. If we do say that it's going to go at 7, don't be like, SKELEC, it's 6:59, yada, yada, yada. It's like, it doesn't really work like that. The load shedding experience is volatile, because as much as we have been able to improve and increase our capacity over the past couple of days, it's not to suggest that there cannot be a failure again on someone of our other equipment that we need to revert to the original schedule.
And it's interesting Ms. Harris mentioned that, because just last night, the team had to come in around 1 a.m. to do some repairs on a unit. There was a fuel leak that they had to shut down the engine for, and they had to come in at 1 a.m. So we had to let them go home early yesterday, in order for them to come back at 1 a.m. to do the repairs. So all when, the general public is there fast asleep, enjoying the AC, our crews are out working diligently to ensure that come the next day, they don't have to do any significant or serious load shedding, because our maintenance is up to date.
Yeah, I think people need to recognize that. Yeah, there's an obvious issue here that you guys have spoken about, but even outside of that, in just generally, there's constant maintenance that has to happen, and so that still has to take place, even given the situation that we're in. So, hey, and of course, yeah, we big up the communications team at SKELEC, but also we got to big up the technicians, the engineers, all the people who are on the ground. The guys them who go up on them pole them. They better than me, come in up there. Me up there, Jade.
But as guess what? Something is to go there for you to remain powered and
That's
connected
why I
at
tell
home.
them thanks when they come down and them a thing.
Yes, and so when you do see a SKELEC worker, show your appreciation, say kind and nice words. It's even on social media. I know it's very easy to be negative, and we published some tips and we got some feedback like, well, why you didn't publish the tips last week? Well, we didn't know we were going to have failure on Saturday morning. We didn't know we were going to have to shed as much as we needed to from as early as Sunday. So just really try to work with the process and get in the know. Be as informed as you can, meaning follow this media tour that we are doing. You're publishing on Facebook so that you can be in the know, so that when you do make comments that they are informed comments and that they're just not opinions that you came up with based on your own limited understanding. So get in the know. Now, as a man, we don't usually get an opportunity to do this, but if there are about 1 or 2 callers that we can take to answer any questions that persons may have, because this is definitely an exercise to educate the public and to receive feedback from the public, because we know we didn't get everything right. We're going to take this opportunity, especially because we have the general manager. I don't usually come here with the GM, so when I come with the GM, it's like big time.
Well, I feel important, yeah. I feel important. But guys, take the opportunity. Any questions you have? You have the man himself, Mr. Williams here.
Even if you have any questions on the lives on YouTube or Facebook or anywhere.
For sure. So we'll definitely do that. Someone is talking about the inclusion of the renewable energy and how would that work? Is that part and parcel of the solar projects that we have come to expect? Is there some collaboration between those projects and SKELEC?
Okay, that's a very important question, and I would say currently we use diesel as the main source of fuel for generation. Now, renewable energy technologies, whether it's solar, geothermal, wind, they all use nature as the fuel. So the plan is have a firm fixed capacity available on standby, and then we focus on building our renewable energy capacity. So the government has NDCs that they have to follow. I think the current NDC has that we have to be 100%. We have to be a green nation by 2045. I think it's 2045. So we can do that. It can be achieved. It's just that you cannot negate the fact that you must have a backup. Right. In your home, most persons who can afford to have a backup generator. Backup generator doesn't run all the time, but in the event that they do need it, it has to be there. Right. So the renewable energy technologies, it's almost like an inverted pyramid where you would have your base load, diesel powered, and then as you go up to the top, that's where the renewable energy technologies come in. So the last project that was in the public domain.
Oh, we have a caller. Let's take the call.
Yeah, guys, we have a caller on the line. Good morning, caller. You're live on Island 2. What's up?
Good morning to you and your guest.
Morning.
Morning.
I just wondered if it wasn't time to decentralize both the generation and the distribution, and perhaps concentrate in renewable sources elsewhere, and so that you have a backup. You just spoke about backup. And similarly, isn't it possible to run a cable between St. Kitts and Nevis so that we can complement each other and be a backup for each other in the event we have instances like this? That's the question.
Thank you, Carla. Such an important question. Mr. Williams was smiling when you asked because there's so many things in the pipeline that he's going to speak about now.
Yes, that is an interesting question. We are currently doing a joint study between St. Kitts and Nevis on the interconnection of both islands. As you may be aware, geothermal is more prevalent in Nevis than in St. Kitts. It's available in both, but Nevis is much more advanced than St. Kitts. So Nevis has the potential to do up to, I think, 100 megawatts of geothermal. In the first instance, I think the plan is to do about 20 megawatts. So if both islands are in fact interconnected by undersea cable, then of course we can feed energy back and forth between the two islands. Now, would the policy allow for that? Of course. I'm certain the politicians will do everything that they have to do to ensure that our legislation is in place for the pass-through of energy from one island to the next. We develop solar here. We have a 30 megawatt solar farm that's supposed to be in construction right now with battery storage. So the idea of decentralizing, when I hear decentralizing, I'm thinking like a TNTech, a Trinidad situation where you have one company doing the generation and one company doing the distribution. Now, we can decentralize in the sense of having, a solar farm in Bastia, a solar farm or wind farm in Bellevue, or some other facility somewhere on the island. That can work. Definitely, it can work. Instead of maybe centralizing everything in Bastia, it can work for a number of reasons. It's just a matter of what the land use is, what is available at the time, and what technologies we choose to invest in.
I would assume that these plans, of course, would be long-term plans, because you would have to start building out the infrastructure, for instance, years in advance.
That is correct. We have started to make some strides in that general direction in terms of improving our underground infrastructure here in St. Kitts. Prior to 2020, we were about, say, 60% of the island's backbone infrastructure underground. We're closer to 80% now. So with that being done, that means if we put a solar farm or wind farm or whatever somewhere, anywhere around the island, it's a lot easier to have that energy transported back to the Needmos Power Station, where we would have the distribution unit to send it out to the customers.
Persons, what the consumers, customers, listeners would have to bear in mind is that these are very capital and labor intensive initiatives that really and truly are not something that will pan out in the short term. So that's the reason why they are more long-term initiatives in the next 3 years and so forth.
Of course.
And one thing I must mention is that our current minister, the Honorable Conway Maynard, he has given his pledge to ensure that these renewable energy technologies and, in fact, general technological advancement of SKELEC takes place. It's one of his personal commitments. Himself being an electrical engineer, he understands it, and he has also pledged to ensure that pretty soon his next personal vehicle is going to be an electric vehicle. And he has challenged SKELEC to make sure that we have all the infrastructure in place so that no matter where he goes, if he wants to go anywhere around the island, there's a charging station pretty close so that he can charge his vehicle. And we have accepted that challenge.
Awesome, because I hybrid one next year, but we have a call on the line. We have a call on the line. Good morning, caller. You're live on ILNT. What's up?
Good morning, all.
Morning.
I have a question for Drummer. You just made a statement concerning land space for generating electricity. Most likely, I think you're thinking solar power.
No,
And
not,
could
not,
be
I'm
wind
not
power.
specific to solar. It could be anything. Solar, geothermal,
Wind.
wind. It really doesn't matter. It could be hydrogen. There's so much technologies out there, but the land is very limited, and I'm just concerned about what the allocations are, the current allocations are.
Okay, looking at what I'm thinking. I'm thinking about the square footage of roof space that you have. Even the roof space for the generating capacity, generators that you have immediately right now that are running.
Mm-hmm.
What about using those roofs to put your panels on?
This is very interesting because yesterday the PM, Dr. Terence Jew, visited the Neesmith Power Station, and that was one of the conversations that he had with us, and as part of his mindset, his vision for St. Kitts. Yes, we do have lots of roof space that we can utilize to get a number of persons essentially decentralized. As a company, that would mean eroding revenues for us, but at the same time, it means fuel avoidance costs. We, at the ministry level, I know Dr. Bertil Brown is very essential in formulating a tariff system for this specific this specific mechanism, and it is something that is coming. It's not a matter of if, but when. And I
not
know...
Cutting you, not cutting you off. I understand these statements which you are making. Because I understand that to make the whole island, the people a single unit, electricity generating will be cheaper.
Correct.
If one drop out, that will be less to carry the load, and we, who can't afford it, will have to pay more because somebody else drop out and they're not contributing to the system.
No, that is where SKELEC comes in. So SKELEC would have to make sure that we have a reliable backup supply so that if one person drops out, we just kick in and we supply that load.
But I want to think about government headquarters, the size of government headquarters, the top of that, and the size of where you had John Gums to generate electricity for part of Bastia. Because electricity you could tie into most of your grid wherever you want to get up to speed with sun power to relieve the main generator of the capacity of which is carrying. Mm-hmm. So I'm thinking all government building with the large roof space rather than using our landmass to put in these solar panels. That's what I'm thinking. I listen after you. Thank you, Drummer.
Correct, no problem. And that is an excellent idea. I wish I could just make it happen, but that's not up to me. That's up to me. But we at SKELEC, we do welcome any new renewable energy technology being incorporated in the system. But there would have to be a mechanism for that somewhere else outside of SKELEC.
Well, thank you so much, Carlo, for your contribution. I think these are the type of conversations that I'm happy we are having, and happy to hear that the vision that we have for power generation in the island, taking these paths, and of course SKELEC is at the center of these kinds of conversations. Guys, make sure to stay locked to SKELEC social media. Patrice, tell the people where they should go to get the official, not on WhatsApp, not the leaks. Where to go to get the official information from SKELEC.
All right, so I'll give a few tips in addition to that. One of the things I would like for the public to be aware of is that all of the communication coming out of SKELEC as it relates to load shedding are all on an orange background. The color orange is the color that we are using for the load shedding exercise notices. We want persons as well to stay tuned to our Facebook page and our website. Now, I know persons will say, well, ain't anybody on Facebook? Okay, we post this on Instagram too. We mean on Instagram, well, you can go on the website. We mean on the data. Sometimes it's just kind of interesting to see what people will say, but you want to be informed. You want to be in the know. As I would have mentioned before, the load shedding schedule is published by 8 p.m. nightly. It's sent out to all of the media houses, all of the workers, the employees of SKELEC. They also do have that scheduled by 8 p.m. So you can, if you do know a SKELEC employee, you can ask them for it as well. It's sent to our website and published there. So pay attention to the schedule so that you can plan for the upcoming day. The situation is improving at the power plant, which means that fewer load shedding outages have already begun to take place. So be happy when that does occur. But in the event that you do experience an outage, to always have a flashlight nearby, keep a data plan on your phone, purchase your perishable items sparingly, and we also want to have another conversation about protecting your appliances, because sometimes when the power is restored, it might, as usual, because we are mostly overhead, there can be a surge. And so how can you protect your appliances? Surge protectors, plug them out, and switching off your main switch, especially if you realize that the light is dimming or one half of your house has electricity and the other doesn't. So that's how you protect your appliances. There are outages taking place, and we want you to protect your appliances so that you don't have to come and curse SKELEC to say we mash up your TV and your fridge and those sorts of things.
Right.
Be so colorful with SKELEC. Mr. Williams, any parting words from you?
Parting words, I would just like to thank the public for their patience and understanding. As Ms. Harris mentioned, as Patrice mentioned, the situation is improving. We did manage to purchase 2 standby units, which are currently at the port in Miami. Hopefully they're on the ship, and the ship is already sailing to St. Kitts with them to be landed here on Monday. I should be able to provide an update on that later. I also want to say thank you to the staff of SKELEC for their hard work. In particular, the guys at Generation who have gone above and beyond. I've never seen such hard-working individuals. You know, even on Monday, I was there, and the guys are in the one of the containerized units, and they're full of oil all in their head, and just working. And they're just saying, "Boss, we ain't leaving here until this thing fixed, because I am a customer too, and I want when I go home, I could get electricity as well." And that is one of the things we want the public to know as well. We are customers at SKELEC as well. So there are many times when we leave our work and we go home and we are in darkness just like everybody else. And then we still have to get up in the morning and come and try to do whatever repairs need to be done to ensure that we are able to provide a reliable and steady supply of electricity. So I just want the general public to be patient and understanding. We are working towards improving the situation. The government has given its pledge to ensure that we alleviate this problem altogether. And I can assure you, Clement Jomo Williams, are going to hold them to their promise. And I just want to say again, thank you to the staff of SKELEC for their hard work and continued hard work. And trust me, I will make sure you will be rewarded.
And we are going to hold him to that statement where he says that he's going to make sure that we are rewarded.
Really on the internet, yeah, so that's it. Yeah.
We'll talk later about a cutout as a...
All right, but guys, thank you so much for taking the time out and coming, hanging out with us and talking to our viewers and our listeners. I'm sure they appreciate it. In particular, the persons that would have called in and been a part of the conversation as well. Thank you, guys, and look forward to talking to you guys again.
All right,
No
bye-bye.
problem. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, man. Well, Jade, speaking of SKELEC, before we go, we have to big up